see we had to be changing jobs, and so I took vacation this week. So there's going to be no video from my side because I'm on vacation. We'll just put it that way. And at this point, I do want to hand this. I'm sorry.
Or do you have some Johnny Walker or some other brandy something near your table?
Oh, you're close. It's vodka, but I'll give you points. But in all seriousness, like I said, this is my vacation week, so I'm like no video today. But I do want to give a proper introduction to Eder. We've been talking to him for a couple months. He's from Brazil, so we have another great international speaker. We're loving how we're being able to expand this. And Eder, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to read all his certs. It's a big alphabet, and it's way more than I have. He has his CISSP plus the ISSAP, the ISSMP, the CCSP, CYSSAP, the CEH, and the BCS. And he's working on his postgraduate degree in network security. And I mean, wow, that eclipses way more than I've done. He's been in InfoSec for 21 years, and he has security, IT, and network experience, and also has some telecom and service provider market experience. And he's presently working as a subject matter expert / cybersecurity architect lead for the digital security at Telefonica. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Telefonica-Vivo, Brazil.
Yep.
And doing obviously cybersecurity for them. And his role as an SME are to do the strategic planning, leading architecture projects, evaluations, POCs, and lead the new technology advisory for the critical infrastructure in cybersecurity in South America. So he's doing a lot down there. I know we don't always get the view of what's going on in other countries. You might not necessarily hear the news. So I'm really excited that we have kind of an inside source on this to see what some other countries are doing. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Eder so he can show us and let us know what awesome things are going on in Brazil. So I hand it over to you, Eder.
Great. Thank you, Tatra. Thank you, guys, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be here today. And first of all, I need to give some apologies to all of them because my English is no native. And probably if you don't understand what some things that I speak or I told you, feel free in interrupt me and request some explanations or some points, because yes, my English I keep improving, but it's not native. And great. Thank you guys for joining us. And this presentation is a little bit about critical infrastructure assessments in specific points in telecom case. Our agenda, our topics about this work today. A little bit about myself, but Tatra already introduced me, and a little bit about context and objectives about this work, and about governance, maturity, threat modeling is important part of this work, steps about work, and deliverables, and final results. As a brief point, if you have any questions, probably we have free time in the end of this presentation. Is expected that we will spend around 45 minutes to do this. And yes, about me, but it's a brief point about my work. Tautra already told to us, and I think it's the least part. I think it's important. This month, I am leaving Telefonica here in Brazil. I'm starting working for AWS. I will be a professional for the AWS, responsible for some important clients, customers AWS in Latin America. And I'm starting now working for AWS. And for ISSQuare, I developed some activities as JTA, writer, reviewer, translator, and now we are working for developing a new exam, new entry-level exam is ongoing, and probably we will launch in the middle of this year. And about my certifications, Walter already comment to us. Great, I think this point. And about this work, context and objectives. And feel free if you have some questions, feel free in ask me, please. Interrupt and ask me. And now about the context, we have many criminal groups working 24 hours per day during the whole year, acting in cyber terrorism, in some ransomware, in some hacking systems, the most part of them with sponsored by some governments that we know many countries that are sponsors for hacker activities or criminal group activities. When you have this activity, we have vulnerabilities in systems, and these criminal groups try to hacking. And this screen is part of my background. Probably 20 years ago, when Matrix was launched, in some part of the movie, we saw about when Trinity was trying to enter in a power plant. She hacked these systems, and yes, I was a young, and whoa, it's very different. It's amazing this action in the work for invade the systems, for achieve the control of the systems, and this point motivates me to work and study about cybersecurity 20 years ago. And yes, vulnerabilities, we have vulnerabilities in many systems today, many trustable systems, we have vulnerabilities. And looking for these vulnerabilities, we have hackers, we have attackers, we have cyber terrorism, we have groups, yes, a lot of problems around vulnerabilities. And for dealing with vulnerabilities, when someone exploits vulnerabilities or dealing with vulnerabilities, we have an impact. And about impact, we have the first pillar of cybersecurity is a SIA triad. If you compromise any one of this point, we will lose security. We will have disclosing, we have loss of integrity, we have lost about availability, and our security will be compromised. And in this case, what is the final target? It's us. We all are the targets for the in the end of in the ultimated point. We are the target, but we have also other infrastructures that are targets. In this case, communications connect the whole world. We have flow of communication practically connecting all countries in the world, and a criminal activity in this infrastructure can compromise all critical infrastructure sectors, because we have a lot of sectors in critical infrastructure. And if we compromise one of each point in this in our pillars, we compromise all. Because if you lost communication, we impact water supply, health, transport, space, cloud and data, and it's a big problem. In the end point, what will happen? What happened? We will lose a great point of money. Money will fly. We will lose a lot of money. And to dealing with this, we need to establish a good work. In the first point, for avoid these all problems, is establishing 3 pillars of governance. in first point, we have operational. In second point, second level, we have tactical. And third point, we have strategy. And for establish a good governance, we have an audience, a frequency of communication, a security area that will conduce the assessment, and we have other areas that will security area will deal with another areas to keep or to evaluate security in the company. And with this this strategy about governance, we will split in an audience about VP boards and director is the top of responsibility in a company, and we will communicate the activities for them in a time slot, probably in each 30 or 45 days. Is a good approach for a very executive information or communication. And security area, for do this type of reports, will elaborate or will create monthly information, monthly reports about strategic revision, about what happens in the process of governance inside that telecommunication or assessment in the critical infrastructure. Following this point, in the second level, we have directors and senior managers. In a very short, in a shorter than report that we do to the board, around 15 or 30 days. In a weekly point, security working, and other areas responsible for systems and the company. This area need to have action plans. When security area finds some points or found some points about security, about problems, other areas need to establish action plans for dealing about these points. And in daily activity, we have on staff, many people working together and on basic daily in operational level with daily reports. And when this team finds some problems, some vulnerabilities, we need to start immediately mitigation. If you found a problem, it's part of governance. Take care about appropriated mitigation for decrease the low of risks, the level of risks. And using all these points in the governance, what is our goals using this? Because it's paramount for the success of the project. A governance, we need to have a good strategy for dealing what happens in the project to support the project. If you have poor management of this point, we have a poor project, and it's not our goal. And in the end point, what we have? We have a mapping of threats and risks, and we need to deal with this. And this is the point around governance. We will have many activities for in the ultimated point, having a mapping for treating risks and to support the company to evaluate the level of risks that the company have appetite to this. Until now, questions? Okay, let's go. And about maturity. For conducting an evaluation in critical system, one important point is using sys controls. Sys controls is a generic framework, and with this framework is possible mapping many activities, many it's an overview of what we have in the company for establishing some scores about our maturity level. And using sys controls, we have 3 levels. We have IG1, IG2, and IG3. The IG is implementation group. And in this case, if you implement the basic point, IG1, it's called cyber EGN. When you implement this one, we will remove many legacy points and useful systems. We establish a baseline of maturity for the company. And following some points about the scope of CIS, in the recent version, our last most recent version, we have version 8, and in this version we have 18 families of control, and in each this family we have implementation for implementation groups 1, 2, and 3. In this case, what you achieve using CIS. For example, if you implement group 1 is adequate for small groups, small companies. In this case, we will have a very, very low or very basic approach for dealing with evaluating maturity. But it's a good point, because the most part of the companies does implementing any CIS control, and this is a problem. And when you follow in the sequence for group 2 and group 3, in each group we will have a complement of the previous group, and we increase the maturity for more controls and for more security. In this recent version of CIS, we have a dashboard. It's not exactly a dashboard, but it's a board that we have a comparison when you use CIS. For example, in top 5 attacks, we have these 5 items. For example, if you have a company and you implement CIS controls implementation group 1, probably we have the reduction around 77% of vulnerability, or for if you have an attack caused by a malware, we have a cover around 77% for, yes, we will keep in a good conditions for dealing with malware. But if you implement all CIS controls, the 3 groups, we have 94%. And this will follow all items. In this case, IG3 is very adequate to cyber companies or security, or in mailing point for critical infrastructure. And if you implement all these points, yes, we have a good maturity for survival for a malware, ransomware applications, and any type of attack, so misuse or insiders. Yes, is a point to divide in terms of companies that follow CIS controls and companies that didn't follow CIS controls. Until now, doubts? If I am speaking very fast, please tell me. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead. And about threat modeling, in an overview of a telecom company, we have these pillars, these parts, these blocks in a telecom company. We have mainly access network, equipments, backhaul and transport, interconnection, virtualization, network equipments, management, enterprise network is based on desktops from users, from employers in this company, and we have business systems is around IT systems and the whole control BSS and OSS systems that works around our telecom company. When you deal with this is a telecom company, we have the first way of attack is user inside threats. User inside will try to using customer networking for dealing about, or for trying achieve or try exploit vulnerabilities in a telecom company. In the next step, we have supply chain. All company today have connection VPNs connecting a supplier or a provider or a vendor connecting the company. And in this origin, we have problem. We need to deal about this type of access. And we have internet threats. Internet is based from any part of the world try to attack the company, the telecom company. And we have threats from signaling. Signaling is a infrastructure responsible for coordination between calls between companies, other companies. If you have two telecom companies, we have a signaling infrastructure or signaling networking for dealing with SMS, for established callings, for billing, and another points are based on signaling networking. And in the end point, we have internal or insider. Today is our biggest problem to deal with this, because we have criminal groups that try to convince internal or employers to leak information. And this is the overview, the landscape about dealing with all 5 threatening models that we need to take care in security for a telecom company. And about steps of this activity, we have customer overview, customer point of view, internet, insider, supply chain, signaling. The 5 pillars that you mentioned in the previous slide. In the first point that cover all these pillars, we have a discovery. Discovery is a phase that you interview other areas to find about infrastructure, about how is the security, for evaluating IP, systems, legacy, and one overview the whole company. After the discovery phase, we try to establish a surface of attack and evaluate if the company have dev and QA, quality assurance labs or department, and labs. Why we need to take care about this point? Because environments that have dev and QA are ambients that you try or you evaluate a new version or new products or new services or new features. In this point, we have, in most part of the case, we have poor controls. And we have labs. Labs is the worst case, because in lab we have no control, and we have testing of any new technology, any new vendors, any new things, and it's impossible to keep a good protection if you don't have what they running inside the labs. And at this point, we establish a surface of attack. After this, we have documentation achieved in discovery phase, and you have an evaluation about the architecture and how good is the hardening in the infrastructure. Hardening is base point for keep the systems working with only necessary points, and disable unnecessary services and keep the thin systems. And after this evaluation, we can start with a black box or penetration testing for a complete overview about the surface and how the company's exposure to in each of these 5 pillars. Penetration test, if you hire some external company, is some difficult point to deal with a telecom company, because telecom is a very huge it's a large system, it's a large amount of services. We have a lot of services and become expensive. In this case, it's important that a company have an internal red team area for dealing about penetration tests and black box tests. It's a recommendation. And after this, we have an overview and an evaluation of maturity using CISSP. we review controls and process, and in the endpoint, we establish a new or revision of a system development lifecycle. I think the more difficult today is dealing about life cycle. We have a workforce, a task force for running new services, for new technologies, but when the systems enter in the end of life, probably the staff forget to remove these old systems, and the old systems have problem because we don't have updates, nobody takes care, and in our last evaluation, we found many systems that were need to be turned off and keep running, and is a problem. And establish a good system development life cycle is important as part of this process. And after that, it's possible to review a vulnerability management and establish some tools to inspection the network for evaluating if you have some already compromised elements in large infrastructure. It's very difficult to know if you have a compromised element or not. In this case, it's important to establish some scams, some tools to a deep inspection about the flow and evaluating if you have. And vulnerability management, a continuous process, because every day we have new CVEs, new bugs, and we need to keep the systems updated. And we will review the data protection. We have many laws around the world, and we need to keep the data from customers and for employers and the company keep protected. We review systems. In this case, is associated with SDLC. New systems. We need to have some activities, mainly vulnerability management and hardening, and adequate disposal of legacy systems. And in this part, we start in the more difficult part in terms of telecom, because the telecom company is based on perimeters, in perimeter layer. In the perimeter layer, will protect is a false vision of protection, but this is how telecom works. In this case, if you have problem with perimeter, we have problem. The company will die, because if you have one layer of protection and this layer were compromised, the company fall down. And in perimeter, we have CPEs and devices for access, customers, B2B or B2C, and we need to evaluate in this point. For internet side, we have volume or application in terms of distributed denial of service or reflected distributed denial of services. And when we have this type of attack, many companies have problems and cause unavailability of this company. The company stop working in some of these cases with a very large attacks. And we have the insider. Insider is a particular condition that we have nowadays. For example, is a real case that I show here. During this month, is a picture that we receive in the company, and someone, a group of hackers, a sponsored group of hackers, offering to employers of Vivo or Claro companies here in Brazil, offering around 50,000 reais per week for disclosure access or for disclosure about credentials, or VPN remote access for the criminal groups. 50,000 reais is 50 times a minimum wage in Brazil. Is a very, very amount of money. And this is a real case that happens here in Brazil. And in the end of the last year, Claro have a large compromising of his infrastructure, their infrastructure here in Brazil. And until now, they have problems with some services out. And this point is a very difficult to deal. And for avoid this, we need to we need to have a good revision of privileges. And we know that privilege creeping is a problem, because someone that works for now in an area in next year is promoted or transferred to another area. And if you don't have a good privilege review, this user will keep the privilege and access to systems that he will not have access anymore. And if you are dealing about supply chain, in supply chain, we have two flows. Attacks comes from supply chain to direct to telecom, and attacks from user side or insiders in a telecom. We focus in our supplier. For these two cases, it's important to revision a good revision about rules, about privilege, about the flows that are allowed around this in terms of this connection. And about signaling, the evolution of signaling, we have control, management, and virtual plane in a company. We are virtualizing many systems. In this case, the signaling increased importance. If you have compromising signaling infrastructure, an attacker will have control about all infrastructure. And we need to take care about voice, because now we have is very famous, some groups from East Europe that produce some attacks, and we focus on very important people as ministers, presidents, and public persons. And if you don't have a good protection, it's possible to exploit signalization in terms of voice and discovery, and divert some SMSs or other location, and tracking people in terms of mobile and cellular infrastructure. And it's important to keep a good control in terms of voice. And in the end, we will have a good compliance, because we will review all points. The auditors will be grateful, because we do this all points. We did this all points, and we have a good compliance evaluation. And in the end, we have documentation about the all points that we do. Until now, doubts?
So where does the people side of this, like training, where do you fit that into this?
I think,
I mean, it's good to have policies, procedures, and controls in place, but a majority of problems come from people who either don't know what those things are, or they either have not been informed, or they're just choosing not to follow the things they should be doing from a training perspective. So I guess I'm asking, what is the people piece for that fit into this?
yes, in this case, it's important to keep controls about desktop systems, desktop notebooks with appropriated controls in terms of antivirus, DLP, and a behavior monitor in terms of user. and it's important also to keep a good awareness program for improve the conditions of maturity of the users, and it's important also to keep a good policy for sending periodically emails, training about avoid ransomware, avoid other problems, and a 30 is a I don't remember exactly the name, but it's a 30 a 360 degrees work cover the whole points about the user. Is a good approach about this point. I don't know if I answer your
Well, I
question.
think you did. I mean, I just didn't see it in the discussion. That's why I asked.
Mm, I think the last part I can understand what you said. I have some noise here.
Okay, what I was saying is that I think you covered really well the pillars and the controls and things that are put in place to help with the security. And the only thing I saw that I thought was missing was the training and people piece, which you talked to. I mean, it's certainly a necessary element.
Okay,
And it's
okay.
kind of like a horizontal, it cuts across all these.
I understand. In the next slide, I'll show you some points about the people development. Yes, I think it's I will answer your question in next slide.
Okay.
About deliverables in this work, we have daily activities, weekly activities, report monthly, and security will acting in an independent evaluation for an assessment. Is very important nowadays. Security is not part of IT infrastructure or engineering. If you have direct report to vice president or to president of the company, is the best point for keep security in a good condition for working in transversal way with another areas. And when you execute daily activities, we are able to establish a mitigation plan about daily activities that you find about problems or vulnerabilities, establish an action plan in a more executive level, and improve the risk analysis. And the risk analysis about what the activities do about the activity is point for establish a good priorization. If you have a good appetite for risks, is important for dealing about the how big how we deal with the risks in terms of the company is able to deal, and it's possible to provide some recommendations and priorization about what's the most important points or important systems that we need to deal or to put in front for take care. And as part of this activity, we have manuals, baselines, and review the entire policy in the company is part of the assessment. And when you establish a good overview of all points, we are able to review about people and organization infrastructure or hierarchy or staff. When you evaluate a specific area, it's possible to see, yes, in this area we have 2 professionals for dealing with security, but it's fewer than necessary. We have more people dealing with these activities. We need to have improve acknowledgement. We need to make some trainments to improvement awareness. for improve the capabilities of the people working in the company and take care about security. I think it's at this point. I answer correctly or no? Your question?
No, that brings them in. I just was wondering when it was going to happen.
Okay.
And Eder, I think I see another question from about CIS controls about the accounts for large spread effectiveness between the IG controls from Aiden. Did we get that addressed?
I don't understand. I didn't understand correctly. I don't know what was the question. Can you?
They're in the chat. If you can look in the chat, there are a couple questions in there.
Okay. Okay. Let me see the chat here.
Right, and looked on the framework of the NAC attack.
I'm searching. Yes, let me see here. Sys control, what accounts for large spread effective from AG level? Okay, in this case about sys controls IG1 is adequate for small companies and are basic controls. And when you implement IG1, we have a good level for basic controls. We have policy overview, we have inventory, we have CMDB, we have overview about trainer, about how people work in this activity, about IG1. In IG3 is a complement of IG1, and you have in the middle IG2. IG2 is for improving maturity for medium companies, and IG3 is a completed evaluation adequate for large companies. I think it's this point about sys controls. And when you're implementing all three levels, all three groups, the maturity, the overall of maturity in the company will increase a lot. I think it's the basic point is this. And for example, when you start this activity here, the maturity level in the first point when you were feeling IG1 was very poor, and we need to establish some controls and new activities to improve the steps and achieve a reasonable level. I don't know if I answered correctly.
No, thank you. That was very informative. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to make sure that everybody that had a question was, we addressed it in some manner. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we have another question. The importance of use meter attack framework for attacks. When you establish a penetration test or activities based on red team, all ways of attacks and frameworks are covered in this activity. I don't mention because we have a fewer time to explain all points, but in the red team activities and evaluation about surface and penetration tests, yes, we will cover all points of meter attack framework.
It's a big topic. The MITRE and the related paths that are indicators of either attack in progress or a pending attack. This framework is really good at
yes.
Gathering the data that alerts you to that being a possibility, but it's a very deep subject. So
yes, of course. And in MITRE, you use it in between with vulnerability management for yes, we will cover all points about risks and attacks, and yeah, so it's a good point. And after organization policy review, we have a good overview about assets and technology that we have, and it's possible to remove old systems or unnecessary systems. We will provide a process review, because when you find or when you evaluating the company, we will have contact with process, and we will achieve process useful, useless, and process that you need to review to become more efficient in terms of Lean Six Sigma or another framework. Yes, we can do this. And one important point, when you evaluating the infrastructure, we can recommend a budget management. We can review budget management to improve some investments. Yeah, we need to put or to install a new platform to monitoring desktops. We have a new firewalls. We have a WAF. We need to change another platform, antivirus, and is important to deal with budget management about this overview. In the end of point, we have final documentation and evidence about our work. And as final results, what we have. Now we know what we have, because we evaluate our points. And in this point, is expect that we have an updated CMDB inventory and a good revision about business continuity and disaster recovery process. And we have a governance. When you establish a governance during this activity, it's very feasible that governance keep working in the company for dealing with the activities. We have a new risk management or an overview, an update about risk management platforms for dealing about risks, for posture. We have a review about the process, the management of process. We increase the value to the business, because we will show to business how is important to keep the things protected. We will increase the resistance and capability to resist against destructive attacks and directed attacks. Nowadays is I think for the most part of the companies, destructive attacks as using a ransomware is a pain in the head for many professionals, and using this activity or this work will increase the capability to resist to this type of attacks or the problems. We increase the maturity in the company, the whole company. We have documentation. Many companies don't have documentation about what they have, and in this case, we will review and produce new documentation. We improve the communication, because for this process we need to talk with any areas, and in this point we will improve communication between areas. We will reduce or remove silos in communication. It's possible to establish new KPIs for new points that we will be monitoring. We will sanitizing all systems that are unnecessary to keep working. And we improve quality in our products and services. We will keep the products more serviceable to the customers. And the final is our work that together we will achieve the results. And now, thank you for all audience here, all people that join to us with this presentation. And I'm free to question and answer about this work.
Thank you, sir. Good presentation. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I second, third that. Thank you again. I mean, it's always so fascinating to get another perspective on different topics that we all struggle with on a regular basis, and to see how other people outside our group or even outside our country, which is in this case, to see how people are dealing with it. it's fascinating, and it's definitely educational, because there's definitely things that I know I can take back and use at work that I hadn't necessarily thought of. So you brought some great topics.
Was my Portuguese good, Eder? I don't know.
Great, very good. Yes.
It's better than mine. Mine's awful.
No, I think it was a pleasure to be here today, sharing some part of my work, and I hope that you keep in contact in the future for working or for communication. If you want to add me at LinkedIn, feel free. I'm able to talk with you, and thank you guys for this opportunity.
Well, thank you again, Eder, and thank you for the invitation. LinkedIn, I'm sure there's several of us that will want to connect if we haven't already, because we're always looking to grow our network, and you're welcome to join us and to listen to any of our monthly topics that we have going throughout this next year and onward from that. We're all in this together, regardless of where our home computer sits and our desk chair is. Thank goodness for the internet and everything we have going right now, Zoom, Teams, and Discord, everything else, Eventbrite, that we can all get together and still share all this. So well, it might be a little funky right now for the last 2 years, and who knows how long. We still have the tools that we can get together and share the information, which is what really comes down to and what's critical. So thank you for being a part of this and helping CNMC continue to spread this info. Thank you so much.
Obrigado.
Obrigado. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I could say that too. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so that note, then I guess everybody, have a couple, a little bit of time to get our evening back. Thank you again for everybody attending, and again to Eder for volunteering to do this. That's what we're all about, is volunteering, and if it wasn't for that, we couldn't keep this going. So thank you, and I hope, Eder, you continue to join us, and I hope everybody else continues to join us. We're still trying to line up what we're going to do for next month, for February. It's just been a little funky on the side, so we're working that out. Hopefully we'll get the info out pretty quick, and we'll see who's going to line up for next month. But thank you again for everybody joining us. Thank you again to Eder for volunteering, and I hope you continue to join us. And I guess we will catch up with everybody next month, unless somebody has anything left to say.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Eder, and have a great rest of your evening.
Great. I think that's
All right,
it.
thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great night.